Warning, this podcast contains spoilers. Warning, this podcast contains spoilers.
Every family must contribute one man to fight.
You're a war hero. You've already made many great sacrifices.
My father cannot fight, so I will take his place.
The northern invaders will kill her.
If I expose her, our own people will kill her. When we take the Imperial City, I will take revenge.
For my father.
What is your name, soldier?
Hua Jun, Commander, son of Hua Zhou.
Hello. This is Adolph. I have with me a lot of people. First up, Classic Jake.
Hi, everybody.
Krista.
Hello.
And New Jake.
Hello.
So, and we're going to go round robin on Mulan. We all got to see it, and unfortunately none of us got to see it in 3D. Not because we didn't want to.
Because it literally wasn't
available.
an option.
Not here, ever.
Not in the USA.
I mean,
Nope.
I saw the trailer in 3D. The trailer looked good in 3D, but that's about it.
Yeah.
I agree too. It looked definitely.
Yeah, this is becoming a trend. I've seen Mulan trailer in 3D. I saw Terminator Dark Fate trailer in 3D. I saw
That was
Hobbs
in
and
3D?
Shaw. Yeah, the trailer was. And I
Did not know
saw
that.
Hobbs and Shaw trailer in 3D.
That's a good 3D Blu-ray, by the way. I recommend it.
Yeah, I hunted it down too. I got my German copy.
Me too.
Okay, so let's get started with Mulan. Now, I was the person that actually wrote the review, and it seems like maybe I was the one that liked it the most, which is kind of sad because I gave it a 6.
Oh my god, that's way too generous.
That is too kind of you, sir.
That's like, this is possibly the worst movie I've ever seen.
I wouldn't go that far, but it's the worst Disney live-action adaptation I have seen.
All right, Jake, Classic Jake. You're...
I felt about it like I felt about the first Mulan. Except I felt like I was watching Marvel attempt to make a Shaw Brothers movie and not understanding Chinese culture.
Yes!
Yeah, that's pretty spot on.
I am so pissed off at this movie for primarily the absolute butchering of Chinese culture in this movie, which if you don't know about Chinese culture, you will not maybe notice or understand, but it pissed me off so much.
Are you saying this was supposed to take place in China?
Yeah, and they couldn't decide what dynasty, what age. I mean, I don't know. I'm not one of these people that can sit here and go, oh, they didn't wear that gown until 500 years later. Or
Right,
they didn't.
yeah.
But even I could tell. This felt like how last time I felt this weird watching a Chinese set movie was when I watched Once Upon a Time in China, where it was a Western, but it was filmed in China, and it was supposed
Right.
to be set in the Old West, and they just got the details so wrong.
Yeah.
It was a good movie, though.
Yeah, it was a great movie if you could get over this happened before the Civil War and this happened after the Civil War, and
Okay, so
so bad watching this.
All right.
That same dissidence. It's like something's not right here.
All right, so Classic Jake, keep going. What other thoughts about the movie itself? Full spoilers, but just trying to do a summary.
Okay, tragic waste of Jet Li.
Okay.
They could have had a rubber dummy play the Emperor. They didn't need to be Jet Li. He didn't do anything except maybe be a plot device here and there. Move stuff around. And the lead, she had absolutely no charisma.
Yep.
That's fair.
Okay.
She was adequate in the fights and stuff. I mean, she could, work. They could, puppeteer her, I guess, because I imagine that was all done in wires, mostly. But she had no charisma. I don't care about the stupid stuff she might have said or didn't say. I don't care. But a lot of people are angry about her comments about Tiananmen Square. I didn't hear them. She's a kid. She wasn't even born when it happened. Let it go. It's not going to help her career.
That is not the most infuriating thing about this movie. I'm just
Yeah,
gonna tell
the thing
you.
is, the movie's not good.
She can't act.
Yeah.
I disagree. She could act with. I seen her in The Forbidden Kingdom, like 10 years ago, but that was about it.
Fine. As an actress, she's fine, but we needed better than fine.
I blame it
And
on the
also,
screenplay
I
and the
feel
direction.
like this movie was so poorly written that even a good actress could not save it. So
Four screenwriters on this movie. Who needed that many?
Yeah, and I think they were just trying to thread a needle and they failed. They were trying to say, how can we do a story about cross-dressing and not offend anybody? So we're going to make
that. Actually, they managed to not get that horribly, but it still wasn't great. But that's actually not the most offensive thing in the film.
No.
They turned it into an act of dishonesty.
Okay, so
it's just simple as that. It's the simple Buddhist in it, and I'm like,
okay. they really
dishonor on your whole family.
Hammered that hook. I apologize. I'm gonna swear. About like the third time they said true, I wanted to like shoot the screen.
It was a drinking game here. We were taking a shot every time that occurred.
All right, so Jake, what is your overall classic Jake? Make sure. What's your score on the movie itself?
5.
All right, Krista, let's go next. Krista, talk about this movie.
If I'm just talking about like the actual contents of the movie and not everything I know about the movie surrounding it,
we could talk about that after.
3?
3, okay.
I'm genuinely of the belief that this movie should never have been made.
True that.
Yes.
Okay. So what didn't you like about it? You said there's a lot of problems. Go for it. What are the problems?
Okay, so number 1, I don't know if you know anything about Chi, but if you watch this movie, you don't know anything about Chi, because the concept of Chi in this movie, I don't know, like, it's not even like a Western misinterpretation of Chi. It's just like Disney pulled it straight out of their cow, because like it's not even remotely close to anything in Buddhist philosophy, or it just makes no sense whatsoever. Like, Chi isn't a warrior thing. It's not a male only thing. It's in everyone. So like, why they made it a gendered thing makes no sense.
No, it makes perfect sense, because in our modern times, with the gender thing going on, it makes perfect sense for Disney to do that, but in a film, not at all.
Yeah.
So Chi doesn't give you superpowers, Krista?
No.
Very bad martial arts movies, which is what I suspect was the research material for this movie.
She is just like energy or life force. It doesn't mean what this movie.
Yeah.
It's
not a martial art. Yeah.
Yeah, trying to turn this into kind of a. Now I understand why Disney's Star Wars has gone off the rails.
So Chi isn't the Force? Because that's basically what they're kind of saying, right?
Yeah.
It's just that one thing, just the one, me actually understanding what she is and having to sit through that mangling of it, like that enough made me infuriated at this movie without anything else. There are multiple times in this movie where my attention is drawn to the editing specifically, which is not a good thing. You know, good editor, you don't notice the editing. I noticed the editing at multiple times and was confused by it, which means it was edited badly.
I think what happened was oh, go ahead.
I was just an affirmative.
Yes. I think it's just where they couldn't do any reshoots for COVID, so they just had to do what they had to do with, just copy and paste, slap that baby together.
Well, this was done way before that. This was supposed to come out in May. So it should have been way done, 100% done by then. So I don't think that's a valid excuse anymore.
Oh, then it's just bad editing then.
No, like there is a shot that is her sleeping in like the barracks or whatever, which also, why does she unbind literally every time in the barracks? That makes no sense. You're gonna get caught, you dumbass.
She didn't really do a good job at hiding her gender in this movie, honestly.
Yeah, that.
But that's the least of the problems. I was willing to go, okay, they want the dumb audience to be able to know it's her.
Right.
Okay. There's a shot where she's sleeping in the barracks, and then there's immediately afterwards another shot of her in full armor looking at her parents sleeping, but the way it was cut made me think there was a second Mulan looking at the sleeping Mulan.
It's the chi that you're talking about. That's what it was. It was the chi looking at Mulan, looking at her parents.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to figure out, if that was like a thing that was going on, or like was there some magic spell that there were two Mulans, or like what? I didn't understand.
No, my brain hurt watching this film.
Yeah,
so bad.
I would say the editing of this movie was seriously affected by COVID, because the few great editors that are still alive are like in their 90s. So they're probably like, no way in hell were they going to come out to edit this.
They might have.
So because you're not going to hear me talking too much about plot points and stuff, because this movie was hard to follow in places because of this editing.
Okay, Krista, what else you got? You want to pass it on to New
Not
Jake?
even in the first. That's just the first half of the movie. Like, this movie is about 40 minutes too long. Like, once they get like past a certain point, I'm like, this is the end of the movie. No, it's over. Why are you still going? This is the end. And it just kept going.
Yeah, I checked the time. Whenever they killed the bad guy, there were still 25 minutes of the film that needed to wrap up. It was terrible.
There's so much, and I noticed there's like, especially near the ending, there are lines which in the original was said in one line, and they take like 4 or 5 lines to say basically the same thing. And I'm like,
all right, that's it. Dishonor on your whole family. Make a note of this. Dishonor on you, dishonor on your cow.
It's so many unnecessary words.
Well, it's like in The Amazing Spider-Man when they had to find a way, with great power comes great responsibility. They had to take like 4 or 5 different lines for them to say those 4 words,
Okay. So anything else you want to say, Krista, before we move it to New Jake?
I might have frustrated myself out.
Okay. All right. So New Jake, this is your first podcast with the group.
Yes.
What are your thoughts on Mulan?
Why did this have to be the first podcast that I had to do with the group on this movie is what I'm thinking.
It can only go up from here.
Yeah, I mean that's a great low bar. Yes, that's a great standard to start. So,
hey, I started with A Wrinkle in Time.
I'd rather watch that than this.
What frustrates me about this movie is I can see there are good bones underneath it. Like, I can see it's like slightly to the left of what a good movie would have been, but they missed the target so hard.
No, this isn't slightly to the left. This is in a different arena. I mean, this is its own thing entirely. It's missed completely.
All right, what else you got, New Jake?
Well, it looks nice, but the story's a mess. Is
literally the only good thing is the cinematography.
I don't even think it's the cinematography. It's like with the editing, it's like wide shot, close up, wide shot. Nothing else dynamic or even really good. Every once in a while, it's like, ooh, that's pretty, with the crappy filmmaking.
I agree that I think it's a very pretty movie. It's beautiful. There's a lot of great costume, colorful look and design of a lot of cool landscapes and Graphics are cool. There's only a couple times where I thought the graphics were really bad, but for the most part, I thought it has a cool style, and I appreciate it.
It's not even really a good style anyway. I mean, I don't know. It just
it has colors in it.
It has color, yes.
And it's
What was that, Classic Jake?
It's in focus.
Yeah.
So I'm sitting here now comparing it to YouTube videos.
It's like competently shot.
It's kind of easy to follow in the action scenes, sorta, maybe.
Okay, what else you got, New Jake?
Well, I mean, it's pretty much just Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, made by the guys who do the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I mean, that's what I think it is, and it's not a good fit at all. It's awful. I hated this movie so much.
I thought the fight scenes were directed by Pixar.
Also, what baffled me about it, so like they were like when we were talking about this before, and it seems to be like just like the general consensus is like, oh, this was an attempt at like a more true to the original ballad thing instead of what the animated was, but they kept a lot of things from the animated movie that had nothing to do with the original ballad. So like, which are you trying to do? Are you trying to remake the animated, or are you trying to make a true to life? Because you managed to fail at both of those things.
Yeah,
and they didn't get the good parts from either.
Yeah, they didn't pull enough from either one to make it a good, cohesive, great movie. They just like, well, here you go, audience. $30, please.
Oh, this is just like a mild annoyance, but in the original, she has the line, you would trust Ping, but so why don't you trust Mulan? They give that line to a guy, and that just annoyed me.
I mean, to be non-sexist, they were kind of sexist with this movie.
Yeah.
Also, like the things, her gender reveal makes no sense whatsoever because like in the original it was like the only way people knew is because she was injured. In this one, she decides to go right out into a battle without her armor. Like,
because of that stupid witch lady.
Whether or not you're trying to reveal your gender in that moment, why are you taking off your armor, you dumb?
Dishonor on your whole family.
Yes, you need your armor. Like, you need it with swords, with arrows, with fire sticks. It's like, you need armor in battle.
Yeah.
You need the shot with their pretty hair going all over the place. That's why.
You could have a shot with her pretty hair with her still wearing.
And I would have, and if I was there, I would have killed her instantly by grabbing her hair and then just stabbing her.
Dark.
But I mean, damn, she was practically defenseless. I mean,
she had that idea of like being in the rocks and like, hey, take these helmets and put it up there. It's like makes it look like there's more than one person, but even that failed miserably in the film. It just didn't work. Nothing worked.
Yeah, exactly. There were scenes missing.
Yes.
There's not enough and too much at the same time.
Yeah, it's like, oh, go ahead.
Oh, just saying exactly.
All right. So Kristen was not available to record, but she did send in some stuff that she wanted me to share. She did write her own review, and that review is on Patreon for our patrons right now. But she did say that it's an example of Disney at its worst.
Like, basically, like, all the bad things we've ever said about any of the previous live-action Disney movies, put it in this movie and, like, times it by 3. And that's what happened.
They're just trying to sink even lower and lower. They're trying to beat that bar. They're trying to make themselves worse, but they'll still make money.
So Kristen also said, 30 minutes in, I looked at the clock and I realized this is going to be a very long movie.
Yeah, me too.
I did that about 10 minutes in.
And she said that the fact that they charged us $30 on top of the monthly fee is theft.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I would have waited till December.
I'm really annoyed about this new trend of charging obscene amount of money for streaming.
Yeah, if he was able to purchase it, that'd be fine, but still $30 for digital is obscene.
37.
And then you gotta pay every month to keep access to it.
Yes, which is stupid. It's like Stadia.
It's probably theft.
And no special features. No special features.
Yeah, which is stupid.
That pissed me off because I was like, okay, you know what? I've bought in digital before, no big deal. It is what it is. And then I was like, okay, cool. I unlock it, and I'll unlock, special features, a making of feature, audio commentary track, because $30 is the cost of a Blu-ray, so might as well give me all that with my purchase. And no, the only thing they included was music videos, which is like, who cares? I can see that on YouTube,
If that's all that's going to be on the Blu-ray, I'm just going to skip it. I don't care.
Well, who knows if a Blu-ray comes out. But yeah, Krista gave it a 4. She didn't like it. Kristen, and sorry, we got some similar names on this podcast now. Krista and Kristen and Jake. So
you need to expand, man.
I'm trying.
We need some more letters.
Yeah.
Yes.
The alphabet.
That's why you're new Jake and classic Jake, so that way it's easier. So, yeah, Kristen was not a fan of this movie either, and of course, I wasn't a fan. I said in my review, this is boring.
Yes! What the hell?
It's so boring.
A waste of so much talent. I mean, there were so many cool character actors in here these were probably the biggest parts they've had in decades, and they just were squandered in this movie.
Keiko was in it.
Keiko from Deep Space Nine, yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah. I noticed Donnie Yen was in the film, entirely wasted.
Yeah, exactly. Hey, at least this was better than Iceman.
But was it, though? Was it? Okay, yeah, you're probably
right. The only way this was even mildly enjoyable was if you knew the previous movie and were looking for certain story beats, and so you had the expectation of certain story beats happening. Otherwise, it wasn't a good movie.
they didn't even do the story beats right. Like they made it different enough, but it was awful.
So you see the moment where they're like, oh my gosh, a bunch of people just died.
Yeah.
In the original, that's a really heavy moment. In this one, if you blink, you miss it. It barely affects the plot at all.
Yeah, it's like, wait, why did the screen turn white all of a sudden? What is that?
Okay, I mentioned this in my review, that I really felt like the lack of any blood, there was some blood, drops, but it just felt too sanitized. And look, they have swords, they have bows and arrows. I'm not expecting this to look like Hacksaw Ridge or Kill Bill. I don't need that kind of gore in the Disney movie. I get why they had to tone it down, but the fact that it was just so neutered, it just killed it. This is not battle. This is just playing around, and it just killed any kind of. You're right, Krista. It killed it. It killed the movie. There's no seriousness. There's no gravitas. There's no important action of it. It just is missing all that from a war movie.
There was no stakes.
Yeah,
it was just fantasy. It's so disconnected from reality. It's you don't even have suspension of disbelief or anything. You can't. It just doesn't work. I don't know.
I mean, but it's funny because they said this is supposed to be a realistic take on Mulan, but it's not. Especially when you have a phoenix in the film.
It's so much more fantastical, actually. What the hell is with the witch? Also, I feel like the witch could have been a good character if they actually tried, but they gave her 3 scenes.
And how they killed her off was stupid.
Gong Li, she has been criticized for her lack of acting ability going on 2 decades now, and it just seems like she has not improved one iota since I saw her last time I saw her in a movie was in the 90s.
I don't even I can't even get as far as criticizing the acting on that point because the writing for that character was so bad.
The writing for everybody was awful.
Oh yeah.
Was it just me, or did Mulan have superpowers from the beginning?
Yeah.
Yeah, she had a superpower since she was a kid, and she just
which makes no sense.
Yes,
because in the animated film, she earned her I wouldn't even say power, her talent, her training.
Yes,
succeeded, but no, this is just like, oh, I could jump on a roof and I'm 8 years old.
Here's the thing where I say like why it's different. They were trying, I think, in that to somewhat invoke the original ballad. In the original ballad, Mulan was a badass as a girl and as a guy. She was just awesome all around. Whereas the Disney version, she's a klutz. She's bad as a girl and she's bad as a guy in the beginning. Like it's about her learning, coming of age. Whereas the original was not a coming of age story. It was just like, oh, she's good at girl things and guy things, and she just went to war because it made sense because she was already a warrior. But so I think that might have been what they were trying to get at, but it just failed because they gave her like all this power from when she was young, but when she was hiding it, and also still failing at being a girl, like they still had her have her match has been ruined. Like they still had her like ruining her own life and stuff, while also trying to make her a badass at the same time. And it's like those two things don't match up.
But like she was doing fine as a lady. It wasn't until like I think she just spilled that coffee mug or whatever, or the teapot, and it's just like, oh, now she can't get a match because of that. I mean,
like that made no sense. That made no sense.
It's like, who could not see that spider?
Okay, let's go into the movie plots and kind of how things went to make sure people listening know what we're talking about. So the movie starts off with a young Mulan, I guess it was 7-ish, preteen, I guess, right?
Like 8 or 10, something like that.
Yeah, 7, 8, 9, 10, somewhere in that range. She was chasing a chicken, and then she chased it up the roof, and people were all scared, and then she like did a flip and got back down, totally cool, action hero, and you're like, no, you're not supposed to do that, and then the chicken flew back into the coop, and you're like, oh, she has superpowers, and
how stupid.
Like the mom was like, oh, you gotta act like a woman, you gotta act like a girl, and the dad was like surprisingly progressive and saying, no, she could be whatever, don't worry about it. I was surprised by that. I actually really like the dad character here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
The dad,
really good actor.
Yeah. I'm gonna butcher this name. Huai Zai was played by T Ma, which is whatever.
Zima, yes.
I can't pronounce it. Sorry, but
that's your five.
Mulan's father was great here. I think he was great.
Mm-hmm.
Easily
best character in the film.
Yes, best character in the film. And so we kind of zoom toward the future where Mulan has to get married off. So she goes to the matchmaker and she sees a spider, and then the spider, her sister's there. She's like, oh, you gotta make sure, and then she gets the spider, and because she made a big fuss, she wasn't dainty enough, she wasn't feminine enough according to their standards. And
can I just say the makeup in that scene looked atrocious. Like if you compare it to like actual geisha makeup, it looks so bad compared to like
isn't geisha Japanese?
Wouldn't geisha be a Japanese?
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't know what the Chinese version of it, but like that makeup is not supposed to make you look like a clown.
It's supposed to look feminine.
Look like Pennywise.
Yeah, you're right.
And it would be nice if they would do scenes like this that didn't echo from other movies. I felt like I was watching a script reject from Alice in Wonderland.
Oh, God. I'd rather watch that movie, though.
Yeah, I would too. And I thought I would never say those words.
Same.
So we get to see a scene after that with the spider and the invading forces, and they want to go back because they want to get revenge or something. And then the witch was like, I want to be part of this new society you make, and you'll accept me, right? And he's like, yeah, whatever. Help me win the war, and we can talk later, right?
Yeah, like that motivation made no sense from the beginning.
It didn't offer any power, a leadership role. It's just like, help me succeed, and you can live, essentially.
So then, they start invading other forces and taking down other places, which you see off screen. And they're like, okay, we need to get someone from each town to become, the fighter. And they go to Mulan's town, and the dad is like, yeah, I'll do it. And, he's weak. He's old. He can't do it. So Mulan decides to go anyway, even though he already had his name there, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Also, that decision scene is so sapped of any emotional weight or power that it could have. They literally skip the moments that she decides to. They have her staring at the sword, and then they have her in full armor, like it's just a cut. Like they miss the emotional beat.
Yes.
Point of that scene, they skipped.
They did everything wrong.
In the cartoon, she cuts off her hair, and that's a big thing to, okay, I'm gonna pretend to be a guy. I'm gonna cut off my hair. She doesn't do it in here because she doesn't want to cut her haircut.
It would have made her look sassier if she did.
Yeah. I'm guessing that's because in some periods in Chinese history, the men had longer hair than a lot of the women.
Right.
But again, they couldn't decide when this was.
I genuinely have no idea when this is. Okay, the Huns, which is the enemies were the Huns in the original animated, are an actual real life historical thing, even though like it may have not been completely historical accurate. It was at least rooted in like actual events that happened. Mm-hmm. The Rowans, which they're called here, though, as far as I can tell, those aren't based on anything. Like no group called the Rowans like ever existed. Those are just completely made up.
Aren't they supposed to be the Mongolians?
Well, see, that's what the Huns are.
Real group. Yeah, and they were already. So I'm like going, okay, so when is this? Because the Han were part of when they became the Seven Kingdoms. The big. So this is different things, and then you've got this group that they look like Mongolians. They're stereotypically the racist Chinese depiction of Mongolians, but they're called something else.
Yeah, like they made up an entire group of people and like weird backstory to it. It just makes no sense.
It's not to offend anybody. That's what makes sense about it.
Yeah, this movie manages, but on the other hand, if you
change the name of an offensive group, it's still offensive. Like,
it's even more.
Take away the.
Yeah, it's even more.
It's lost on Disney. I mean, they know what they think is offensive, but they still are offensive.
Yeah.
I mean, like, this movie managed to surpass what my expectations for it, but my expectations for it were really low, because the original script that was leaked a couple of years ago had the main hero of the film be a white guy.
Oh, God.
Tell me you're kidding.
No!
Oh, Jesus.
I remember this happening when I was in college, and everyone was just talking about what a horrible idea it was.
Hey, the Weinstein brothers wanted to do a Harriet Tubman movie with Julia Roberts.
That I remember. That's crazy.
Yeah, and I believe it because I heard that story in the 90s, not just recently.
It could still work, probably.
It couldn't have been any worse than the movie they released.
Yes.
I don't know. It and Mulan would be like the perfect torture double feature.
All right, let's get back to this movie. So we haven't mentioned it. They don't have any of the songs or the, funny characters like Cricket or Mushu. They
do call one of the soldiers Cricket at some point, which was weird. They do rely heavily on the songs though as soundtrack. Like,
Yes.
they just copy pasted the melodies into the instrumental for the soundtrack. Like,
They sound nice though.
yeah, but like they did not, like, what were you trying to do?
It was too cute. Like, they did
to draw emotion.
Like, they didn't want to have a musical numbers.
Like literally the entirety of this film is just like trying to fuel nostalgia for another film.
Yes.
And not actually standing on its own 2 feet, because it doesn't have any.
But that's what all these Disney remakes do, is nostalgia and get money. That's it.
That's all Disney's pretty much always been. It's just they're pushing those memories.
At least Aladdin had like its own good, unique qualities to it.
Yeah, I mean, even Alice in Wonderland did that.
Whereas like this like has nothing it's bringing to the table.
And it had so much potential because it was one of the best cartoons that Disney had done.
Right.
And they squandered it.
This has like this is why I'm so frustrated with this movie, is because it could have been good, but they did it so badly. Like, at every single step they had a decision, they made the worst one.
I mean, they hired a great director. They had good stars in the film. The writers, I mean, I know 2 of them. They did the Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, or whatever the first one was. And I mean, that was a good movie, but then this film just didn't do anything. It failed to capitalize on all that talent.
Yep.
And all right, the song that I think was really missing, I don't care about the rest of the other songs, but the one song, I'll Make a Man Out of You, worked as a training montage.
Yeah, that training montage was so grueling to sit through. It was too long and too slow.
Boring.
Yeah, whether she's trying to take water up a mountain or something, and it just, having the song made it more fun to watch the montage, and not having the song made the training just kind of feel like a chore to watch.
I mean, if you think about it, during the training, you see whenever that guy spills out the water to cheat and he gets kicked out, her dad could have did the same thing, and the whole movie could have been avoided. Mulan could have just stayed home in her village and got married.
Yep.
So, she tries to be part of the military, and she doesn't cut her hair. She accidentally gets dirty by, trying to be macho. And I guess that's how they played it off, that she was dirty, had a dirty face, that's how she could not look girly. But I'm sorry, she's too gorgeous to not be seen as a woman.
She didn't even hide her voice very well, or at all. It's just her same voice, essentially.
They could have played it off and said, had other guys in there that were baby-faced or didn't look super masculine, but it just didn't work. I didn't believe for a fact that she would not be sought right away.
Right.
Jake, Krista?
I think they were trying to, like I said, thread a needle, and one of the things that a lot of Asians have trouble in the West is how Asians are fetishized sexually, and Asian men are always considered very feminine.
Yeah. I actually didn't have trouble believing that like, just based off her and her armor, people would have maybe taken her as a guy. I just had trouble with like how completely nonchalant she was about like unbinding in a room full of men. Like, no one was gonna wake up and see her.
Yeah. I mean, she didn't really carry herself like a man.
Now, they try to play it off that she didn't take a shower because, no one wants to see her. So she did stay stinky for a while, which eventually led to the pool scene.
That was so much more awkward in live action than it could have possibly. Like, that was the worst thing. That was like, I had secondhand embarrassment from that.
It just seemed disrespectful and like just mean.
Yes.
That was almost as bad as the swimming scene in Child Bride.
So you see Mulan eventually get up and, okay, cool. They have the fight scene and the witch is there and she turns into bats and she turns into birds and she turns into, and there's like a phoenix and does it, like, you don't understand what the witch's powers are. She just, okay, she's a witch and she can do whatever she wants, apparently.
Okay, yes. So why did she turn into a big bad dragon and just eat the...
Yes, she had Maleficent vibes.
Yes, but didn't deliver on any of that.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Like, she was just, like, such a wasted potential.
Yeah, they didn't need two villains in the film.
That's another martial arts movie trope. You fight the first bad, and then you fight at the end, you fight the big bad, the power behind.
But, like, the big bad wasn't threatening either. He had no...
Yeah.
He had no
This is Disney. Nobody was threatening, except with that lack of talent in a few places.
Well, you can't be threatening in a Disney film, like the original villain in the cartoon Mulan. Not the greatest, but, I mean, he did a great job being threatening and kind of scary.
Yeah.
This one, they just didn't do anything. It's just like, oh, I'm evil because I am.
And this goes back to what you said, Krista, that there's no stakes. That the death is not really real death. They don't have impact. You know, Wonder Woman is a PG-13 movie, but it had impact. The war...
Yeah, like Wonder Woman, like, you can see, like, the destruction of war in Wonder Woman, which somehow they completely missed in a war movie.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, with Wonder Woman, I mean, that scene where Steve Trevor sacrifices himself in the plane, you know, it's like you feel that because it's like, oh my God, the stakes are that real. I
was actually thinking like of the No Man's Land scene of like, oh, we can't go, we can't help them, like we literally can't, and she's like, no, I'm gonna.
That's also a great scene too. I was like, yes, I love that scene.
But just how they presented war as a deep and horrible thing, it just, Mulan had none of that. It was totally toothless.
Which they met the original cartoon had more realistic depictions of war than this damn thing.
Yeah, you see people actually die in the cartoon in that avalanche. You see, and you also have the destruction of that village where you see the doll hanging by the destroyed building. It's like, oh my God, they actually killed kids.
It just didn't have that impact, and it really just took away so much of the aspect of this. You know, I was always wondering how they're going to make this into a PG-13 movie. It's about war, and obviously they didn't do a good job. They didn't know how to do it.
No,
it's a way of presenting it without having gore, but you could still have some gore in there to make it impactful.
Yeah, they should have looked at the Pirates of the Caribbean films as good or bad as they can be. I mean, they still did a great job with the action, and even though it's not really war, but they kind of show destruction off really well.
Also, like the way that they split the commander and the love interest into two different characters, which, while it may make more sense, completely removed any sort of emotional weight from both of those story arcs. Like,
yes,
yeah,
because there's no tension with the commander anymore, and also there's no reason for the love interest to like turn against Mulan. So like it manages to make both of those storylines flat and unappealing. And also, I have to say, the love story aspect completely fell flat for me because they don't have any like significant dialogue or scenes or anything except for like
no chemistry.
Yeah, like literally the only thing they're trying to do is like try and like have him give her bedroom eyes the entire time when he thinks she's a guy. So like that's the only thing that's establishing like, oh, this is the one who's supposed to be the love interest, but like that has no impact whatsoever.
They don't even have the chemistry to show that they can even be in the same room with each other talking friendly.
Yeah, like that just fell completely flat in so many ways.
Yeah, I mean, it didn't even seem like they were a love interest. It's like, hey, I'm going to show you to my daughters once we're finished. Like, oh, I take great honor on that. Thank you.
Yeah, like
that, they're friends. They're friends, and that's it. You know.
Yeah, I mean that's fine, but I mean.
All right, so during this war scene, Mulan gets separated and goes off after the witch, and the witch talks to Mulan and it's like, oh, you can't really have all your chi because you're lying, and if you're not really if you're gonna be a woman, then be a woman. And then she gets like an arrow and shoots her, and a voiceover says that Mulan is dead, but the character that she was portraying as a guy was dead, but now she's Mulan. Now she's gonna be who she is.
Yeah, that was super cringe.
That didn't have no emotional weight to it at all.
Because they weren't characters. They were just, it wasn't like she was pretending to be a different person. And
like, it's like, we don't see her make a decision. We hear a voice say, oh, she made this decision.
Yeah,
but they didn't actually show the emotional weight of that decision.
It's always show, don't tell. That's the classic Hollywood role. Show, don't tell. And they didn't do that at all.
Mm-hmm, they just told.
Yes.
So she
this movie shouldn't have needed a narrator whatsoever.
Yeah.
No.
So she goes back at the battlefield, and that's what you say that she has her hair out, and I'm a woman, look at me, and I'm being badass.
No armor.
No armor.
Like, you're gonna get shot.
You're gonna die. I wish she did. Would have made the movie better. Yeah. Sure.
If it would have been actually impactful if she did get hit by an arrow, and she had to keep going, but
yeah.
So then they're like, hey, wait, she's a woman? Oh my God. No, we're gonna, you're a liar. We're gonna kick you out for not telling the truth.
Also, her being like, I would prefer execution. The hell was that?
Yes, don't be stupid. Because in the original animated film, they were going to behead her, and then the love interest just let her go. It's like, you're banished, and they didn't know that she was injured or like a woman until he went inside the tent and seen
the
her.
motivation for letting her go
was
made
stronger.
No sense. Yeah, in this one, it made no sense, and why she wanted to be executed.
She clearly kicked ass, sorta. She kind of helped save people's lives, so it would have been like, oh, thanks for the help.
I feel like any emotional weight it could have had falls apart at that point, and like none of the plot threads that were even inkling towards emotional, it just broke.
So
it broke me.
So yeah, after that they're like, I guess we'll follow Mulan, and she knows, oh, they're gonna go to the Emperor, and we need to go protect Emperor, so let's go.
Also, like her convincing them to follow her, that also has no weight to it whatsoever.
No.
It seems completely fake to me.
Yeah.
Yes.
So they go to the Emperor, and then they figure out it's already been infiltrated, and they start fighting there, and then they start walking on the walls, and the fights are kind of interesting to see, but not, no blood or anything, and okay, kind of interesting, and then they get to the Emperor, and then
this is like the time in the movie where I'm like, I want it to be done. Why isn't this over?
Yeah.
I hate this.
And then the Emperor is like tied up in a high place. It's like a cartoon.
Yeah, with the molten steel being let go, and it's like, this is going to kill you.
Like, why are you doing this when like you could have killed him when you had him up in the ropes?
Well, it's like the James Bond thing. It's like, I'm going to tell you my evil plan, and then somebody's going to save you.
Like, if the villain was remotely smart, he would have killed him the moment he had him in the ropes. Like,
exactly.
And basically, if this was truer to the time, he would have killed him and used his head and said, I am now your leader. And that would have been shocking, and people were like, yes, sir. And, that's how he would have done it, right? Or no?
Yeah.
So Mulan is fighting up there, and the guy falls down, and it just kind of, And then the witch comes, and then the witch dies, and like, why couldn't the witch turn into the bats that she did before, or do a flip as the bird to catch the arrow instead of getting hit by it? Because they want to have an impactful scene where the witch, I can't live my life as a woman, but maybe you can, Mulan, because and
yeah, that's what I said. Her entire story arc makes no sense.
Yeah, it's
just misogynistic crap. evil has to pay. And hell, she wasn't
She
even
never
really
even
evil.
did anything evil.
She wasn't,
Yeah.
she wasn't even evil.
Yeah, she was
It's
like
brilliant.
she was like Quicksilver in a Mulan film.
Yeah, exactly. Cannon fodder.
Pretty much, yeah.
And like no one really knew that it was a witch besides Mulan. It's like okay, I don't know how they're winning the battles, but they're winning the battles. Like she wasn't like a big presence in the movie besides a couple scenes. So they're like, okay, cool, thank you. And then they go back to the town, and then the emperor has the ceremony and saying, hey, I respect Mulan for all the work she did, and here's a sword because Mulan lost her sword in the battle. And then now the sword says family.
Yeah, like this scene was way too long. Freaking in the original movie, Mulan was just like, "Thank you, but I want to go home." Whereas Mulan takes like 4 or 5 lines just to say the sentiment, "I want to go home." Like
it's like, thank you for the great honor.
Like
I
snuck out in the middle of the night. Like we already know this. We watched the movie. Like you don't need to explain your entire life story in this moment. Like
there might have been people who slept through most of the movie.
It's the kids who would have watched it probably. What happened, Mommy? Just listen to the scene, honey.
Yep.
I did kind of think that ended well in a kind of emotional kind of way that it's like, okay, it kind of feels satisfying, but overall, Mulan just...
It took way too long to get to the ending. Like the last 40 minutes needed to be condensed into like 20 minutes. Like it was way too long.
I hate how they killed the main villain of the film where she kicked an arrow into his chest, which makes no sense.
Whatever.
Yeah, it's just like, okay, I'm glad it happened, but we still got another half hour before the film roll, like the credits roll. It's like, come on, hurry up.
I mean, she used the power of her chi to make the arrow go faster.
Oh, Jesus.
Also, like, the sister was completely underutilized. Like, why did they even give her a sister if they weren't going to give the sister any lines or any importance whatsoever?
Because they needed somebody to be scared of the spider to make that scene happen.
Yeah, exactly.
At least the actress got paid, I hope. I really hope she did.
Mm-hmm.
So we're all negative toward Mulan. I'm the only one that kind of liked it.
I mean, there was a point somewhere in the middle of the film where I was like, okay, this isn't actually awful. This is okay in some places. But then, like, the movie just dragged on so long that I was like, no, I take it back. I don't like it.
Yeah, it was a training scene. It's where it's like, okay, it's starting to get kind of
the moment where she's lifting the water and walking, and like, what is it, like reflection is playing in the background or something?
Yeah.
Like that was actually a good moment, and I was like, okay, I actually don't hate this movie. And then like the rest of the movie changed my mind.
And then the battle came, and it's like, okay,
I do hate it.
Yeah, I hate it. No more. Take my $30.
I was kind of, okay, I don't hate it that much. And then I fell asleep and I woke up and it's like, yeah, I got to give it down a point. And it's just like, definitely doesn't deserve more than 6.
I mean, it's a 2-star film for me. I mean, it's just that awful.
Okay, so we talked about the movie itself. We talked about the price. Obviously, the price is a big factor here. Is $37 before taxes worth it for this movie?
Hell no.
No.
I don't even think this movie is worth $10, to be honest.
It's not worth the bargain bin price.
This movie, I would say if you're a subscriber, you might want to switch over to HBO Max or something for a while.
Well, this is going to come out in December for everyone else that did not pay, so you could wait 3 months and you could watch it on Disney Plus without paying the $30 ransom.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Or and then it only cost you 2 hours of your life.
Yeah, honestly, it's not worth those 2 hours.
Yeah, I'd rather give them my $30 and just say, I'm not going to watch the film, but here you go.
Wow.
All right. Do you think we should have had Mushu in this movie or no? Or nah?
Yes.
Mushu was kind of there.
Yeah, they had like the phoenix, but like
the Emperor's dragons were at the beginning when first time we see him, and his Mushu's on each side of him.
But it's not Eddie Murphy.
Yeah, I noticed that. Yeah, he was the one. Yeah, he didn't get a callback, or maybe he was smart and said, "Oh hell no."
Yeah. This is the Golden Child 2. No more.
No. Yeah, I think I would rather see the Golden Child than this.
Hell yeah, man! Golden Child was actually decent.
Yeah, it just wasn't very good. It was accurate.
So I kind of mentioned Mushu because he was a big comedy aspect. This movie has very little, if no, comedy or any levity at all.
Yeah, this movie was pretty grim.
Boring.
Yeah.
Like, it didn't even like hit any of the dark points correctly, so it just it's kind of meh.
It didn't hit the comedy, the romance, the action, the anything.
Anything it was trying to do, it failed at.
This is a big fat zero of a film.
But
Nothing.
It was in focus.
Barely.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, not even 3D could save this film at all. It was that awful.
Yeah.
I did miss the 3D. I would have liked it. I think it would look cool.
I would have liked to see this in 3D, but like I'm not gonna rewatch it for the sake of seeing it in 3D.
No. I mean, if it comes out on 3D Blu-ray, I'll buy it.
No.
Just to have it, but
no.
But other than that, it's like, yeah, screw this movie. Screw it to hell.
Yeah. Hey, I've resisted the Step Up movies. I think I might have the power to resist this too.
I'd rather watch Step Up anytime. At least there's something happening pretty on that film.
So
yeah,
the politics of this movie, we can get into it a little bit quickly. It's a disaster.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Another Hollywood scandal.
So
actually, one.
Yeah, they managed to step in 2 different political scandals at the same time.
I mean, filming in that region in China where they're keeping all the Muslim Chinese population locked up, and they paid them for to do that. It's awful.
And they thanked like 4 different political organizations in China directly responsible for the concentration camps.
Oh, yeah.
It wasn't even subtle. Like, it wasn't just they filmed there. It was like, no, they filmed there and they were buddy with.
Oh, thanks for keeping the Muslims out of shot. That was great of you, China. That's awesome. Thank you.
Yeah. like, okay, The Lion King was bad, but at least it wasn't literally a crime against humanity.
No, I mean, the film itself was a crime against humanity, but it wasn't offensive because of where it was filmed at.
Yeah.
I think the main actress also said that she supports China. She doesn't support, Taiwan, and
yeah, she basically said like that the police brutality in Hong Kong was legit.
Oh yeah. Pro-communist sentiment is always thankful in Hollywood.
Yeah, I know, but I'm willing to give
Honestly,
her.
I don't blame her nearly as much as I blame like all the frickin' executives who thought it was a good idea to shoot in Xinjiang.
Thank you, Bob Iger, for that.
Like, there's no reason you needed to shoot in Xinjiang. Like, there's other places in China you could have gone. Like,
they also filmed in New Zealand, which, if you look at the end credits, it said filmed in New Zealand. So they could have filmed the entire thing there, probably.
Mm-hmm.
Or Vietnam, or Thailand, or somewhere with mountains that are pretty. I mean, they could have done that.
And they could have done some better casting.
They could have done better everything.
Yeah.
This
is why I say when at any time they had a choice, they made the wrong choice.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because
Money
like
can
you
fix
decided to shoot in like the one location that was guaranteed to get you flack. Like
yes.
Like you could have just
they could have just not made the film.
Yeah.
So, Mulan actually is not doing that well box office wise in China either. So
yeah, this is what I was like from very early on. You were saying like, oh, they're probably aiming to get it to do good in China and not do good in the US. And I was like, I don't think they're going to remotely succeed at doing good in China, because I don't think a bunch of white guys are going to make a film that appeals to Chinese audiences. Like, I just don't.
Yeah, especially when you edit the fight scenes like a Hollywood movie instead of long cuts and stuff that they like. Of course, you also have to have people that know how to do on-screen martial arts.
But they have wire fu. I mean, that's important.
Mm-hmm.
And the witch.
Which Richie Powers, because of the mainland ban on showing anything remotely religious, and that includes supernatural elements.
Yes. Yeah, they neutered everything down.
Yeah, to get it past the Chinese censors.
Wait.
Anything for that $1 billion.
What?
There's a ban on showing religious things,
In
and they put in a bunch of witchy powers. What?
Well, they barely did that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was surprised that they even said witch or anything like that, because that's an outright ban in mainland China.
Well, they could easily overdub that in like Chinese or Mandarin. You know?
Mm-hmm.
They'd be like, "Oh, she's just a mystic power," and I mean that's why they don't show anything with ghost in China. Like Ghostbusters wasn't shown there. Anything scary movie really is there.
And I don't know if you remember all the hopping vampire movies of the 80s. They didn't show in mainland China either.
No, I mean it was mainly.
I'm very confused right now.
Yeah, I mean because it's the Chinese Communist government feeling that most of the communist governments are atheists. So if you include stuff like that, then it's like, oh, you're gonna.
Okay, then how did NASA get so big in China when that was deeply mystical and deeply magical?
I think if it's mysticism Chinese based, that's not religious based really, that's fine. But if it's like a Christianity myth or
why would you have
Muslim
put a
myth?
Christianity myth in a Chinese set in China?
If it was an American film like Ghostbusters, which didn't air in China at all because it dealt with ghosts and like afterlife, which is usually like Judeo-Christian based.
It's weird, Krista. It's weird.
I'm just confused myself because they already didn't remotely match anything having to do with actual Chinese religion, and so they made up their own religion. And
pretty much. And they probably they might have let them get away with that because they said, "Oh, we want you to film here, and we'll let you get away with that stuff."
Put the Muslims in lockdown, and then you can film here and show the film wherever you want.
Yeah.
I would be surprised because I could tell you some deals that Disney made with China that will blow your mind.
I mean, this is genuinely just like the Xinjiang thing is like, that's the thing that broke me with Disney, where I was like willing to tolerate Disney at least somewhat, and like I was like, oh, I know they've done some
dishonor
things, but like I still like their movies. And now I'm like, no, I hate Disney. I hate them so much.
So yeah, it's gotten bad PR everywhere. So it just bad reviews,
except in China,
and it's bombing in China. So they really have gained nothing from making this movie.
No, I mean COVID probably saved it from an outright disaster. Probably.
Yeah, saved it from an outright failure. Same way with Artemis Fowl.
Let's not mention Artemis Fowl.
All right, I think you need to wrap up here.
Yeah.
All right, so Mulan, it's pretty much a disaster of a movie and pretty bad. Really sad.
Mm-hmm.
Really sad. I feel disappointed that I feel like I thought like Disney had a pretty good streak with the live action.
Yes, like I feel like even though like we've been given some shit to like the previous live action movies, like none of them were this badly done. Like
makes Dumbo look amazing.
Yeah,
I'd rather watch Dumbo.
I'm sorry, Dumbo.
Sorry, I dumped on you, but now can you forgive me because Mulan sucks?
I might.
Like, at least Dumbo was a passable film.
Yeah, I mean, have Michael Keaton.
I might even watch the original Mulan for a second time because I haven't seen it since I saw it in theaters.
Oh, it's a good film, man.
It's actually
Enjoy
good.
it.
Like,
yeah, but I didn't like it at the time.
It's really good.
I think I'm going to give it a second chance.
Go for
After
it. It's a
this-
great film.
It can only go up at this point.
Just avoid Mulan 2, but it's still better than this Mulan. It's awful.
Yeah.
All right, with that, we'll wrap up and thank y'all for listening. And hopefully, New Jake will have some gooder movies to talk about soon.
I hope so too, man. I need more good movies to watch.
It was fun though. We had fun, so at least not too bad.
Did we though?
I mean,
we did talking about it.
It's fun to rip on stuff too.
It's fun to yell about it.
Yes.
This is therapy.
And not only was it bad, but it was offensive because of what they're doing in China. So that double the pleasure.
See, this is kind of fun bad.
Yes.
If
like it's such a train wreck. Like
yes.
Yeah, it's
a good train wreck.
You can only enjoy the sadism.
Yes. Look at the blood and carnage. Yes.
This is a pretty boring movie though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
No, like it was painful to sit through.
Not gonna be fun bad like something like Geostorm.
Junior Geostorm.
I'd rather watch Geostorm. It was decent for what it was.
It's bad. In fact,
but it was
Gerald's got another one coming out. Unfortunately, it's not going to be in 3D, so I may skip it.
Yeah, I'll watch it probably.
It was a fun conversation, and that's it was bad enough that we could make a good conversation, and that good content for y'all listening. So I hope you enjoyed it. That's it for us.
This podcast might get banned in China.
Yeah.
Banned in all communist countries around the globe.
We'll see. That's it for us. Bye.
Bye, guys.
Safe.
Before this podcast wraps up, I want to thank my patrons. Thank you, Kano3D and Mr. Bengal 5 for your financial support on patreon.com. So that's going to be it for this podcast. Thanks for listening. You can find 3D or 2D on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Pinterest, Instagram, and more. Just look for 3D or 2D. Links are in the info box. If you want to send us listener mail, our email address is email3dortwo@gmail.com. Thank you for either listening or watching this podcast. Goodbye.
Bye.
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 Bye, everyone.